Okay, so welcome officially to week 5 of the My New Good Life program. We're going to record this for those people who are not able to make it today. So week 5, map relations. And as you know, after this, we're going to take a summer break and come back in September, and we'll talk about that a bit later on. Okay, so in line with what Joan was saying, I'm putting up the more pictorial version of the New Good Life canvas so that by the end of the 10 weeks, it should be well stuck. So we started off with the now, looking at where we are in the first week, which was taking stock. And then we went to look at the vision. What is my vision for a New Good Life? We went down to deal with our crew to make sure they didn't mutiny on the way to the New Good Life. So we figured out what do we need to do to keep our crew happy, to enable us to progress. And then we looked last week at our essence. Who are we at our core, and what are our gifts? What can we bring the world in week 4, which was explore identity. And then this week we've been moving out into the world to look at the support network that we have around us that can either support us on our road to the New Good Life or maybe snap our energy and make it more difficult to achieve. So that was the purpose of this week. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a quick look at week 5, map relations, quick refresher. There's a group exercise as usual. We'll do plenary review. We'll get a little bit back on feedback on part 1, the first 5 weeks of the program. Just got 4 questions for you, so that shouldn't take very long. And then we will very quickly look at part 2, when we're going to start or when we're proposing to start. And then we will go our separate ways for the summer. Okay. Any questions so far? Okay. So let's start with a quick review of the last week. So this last week was about widening the lens to see more clearly the field in which we're living, in order to figure out what is supporting us and what is maybe holding us back or leaking energy. So there was this exercise that you could complete. We moved into the stone element, and we're still calling them elements until we can think of something better, which was all about inviting us to take action. There was an optional experiential exercise, which was doing a kind of check-in when you went to meet somebody new or entering a meeting or something like that, just to see how you were feeling as you were entering a new situation. And is that situation likely to give or take energy from you? I saw some interesting comments in the Sutra chats. And then on days 3 to 6, the questions were who or what supports my journey, who or what drains my energy, where do I belong, and what more support might I need? So that was the last week we've been on. Any questions, remarks? So this week we've been exploring your immediate context, and then we're going to come back, as we talked about at the end of the last workshop, we come back and we look at the more global picture in week 7, but for the moment we're just moving slightly into our kind of local context. And the aim of the exercise is to help you identify 1 or 2 actions that you could take to strengthen your New Good Life support network. And you might, if you have it available and you feel comfortable to do it, share your field of support diagram. And that might help if, in terms of when you're in the breakout rooms, it might help you to explore or present your support system to your colleagues. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to give you a couple of minutes to review your field of support diagram, if you've got one. If you haven't, if you could just briefly think about what's going on around me and what gives me energy in my environment and what maybe saps my energy. So who or what most clearly is supporting you on your new good life journey? What in your environment, relationships, habits, or systems seem to sap or leak energy? And what kind of support may you be missing at this stage? What other kind of support would be helpful for you that perhaps isn't yet in your support system? Okay, so I'm going to open up the rooms. You've got the next two slides. I'll briefly take you through the slides. These are the ones you should have in the chat. So in small groups, what I'm going to suggest you do is to share your experience for like less than 3 minutes a person. My new good life journey is most clearly supported by. So what seems to sap or leak my energy is, and the additional support I may need is, and the role of the others is, as again, as before, simply to listen, to learn, and question for any clarity. And if you give yourself 5 minutes a person, that takes you for 15 minutes. And then you've got 5 minutes in your group just to notice what you noticed. So what do you notice about your main sources of support? Is there something common between you? What actions would help you develop your support system? Is there anything you think as a group came out strongly? And so if you could just bring back one sentence per group in terms of one thing we noticed about our key support sources was, or one key action to develop our support system further is. So those slides for step 2 and 3 you should have in the chat. Any questions before I open up the breakout rooms? Any questions at all? So if you remember, what we're was inviting you to do is to bring back just some thoughts on one thing we noticed that about our key support sources was, or one key action to develop our system further. Did you notice anything kind of in common between you? And okay, then maybe we go through the rooms systematically. So room number 1 for me is Louise, Mary, and Rania. Would one of you mind saying whatever came out of your conversation?
Okay, I'll say a couple of things, then Louise and Rana can join in. I guess our answer to that was that um, we three of us met as traveling companions. What we like, this is the language we used. What we know will help and what we know will support us is to be able to recognize traveling companions as, and this is my language, so I need the others two to come in and say theirs, rather than route planners. You meet so many route planners in life. They don't help. Traveling companions who you meet by accident and you must recognize and learn. That's the hard learning, but that's the good, joyous learning, and those are the ones who help you. That's me. I really think Louise and Rania need to come in now.
Yeah, I don't mind saying. I think that we're just thinking that, like the people you meet that nourish you or that bring you forward and support you on your journey are not those kind of trying to direct you, isn't it? It's that they're along for the path. There's uncertainty ahead. Let's see what happens, have that adventure, be it for a day or longer, And I think as Mary, we discussed, you can't rewrite the past. All we have is the present moment. And therefore, essentially looking for those people in your life that nourish you and are a part of that and travel on your journey with you.
And
Thank
I
you.
noticed in our group, we all were very grateful, and we said we don't really miss a lot. Like some basic things are in place that we are grateful for. And we all had this traveling in common. So the adventure and not knowing what's going to happen and feeling alive in the not knowing.
Cool. Thank you. Okay, what about room 2? So there's Agnieszka, Paul, and Val.
Yes, I was nominated to share, so here I am. On the key support system, we spoke about isolation and fact that growth does not happen in isolation, and some people in our life would consistently bring a perspective and encouragement, and others can create a tension or self-doubt. We spoke about the concept of the stone, and working with people in significant truths and significant transitions. And I know from my own experience that insight alone does not create change. But the stone, I think, invited a different question. And that was, what am I prepared to build? And Val shared her stone wall with us, actually, which was quite inspiring, and spoke about the build and the different segments in the wall. Would you like to share a little about that, Val, and show us your stone wall? I thought it was beautiful.
We live in a traditional Irish cottage, which is about 180 years old, I think it is now. And we have built on an extension where I'm sitting, but if I turn my computer, you're going to see that wall inside is what was the external wall. And you'd think the stones were just sort of thrown there, but one day we were sitting here with the builder, and he was showing us, if you look like just above that pew, you can see there's actually a line running across, and then you can see another one a few feet above that again. And he was saying, they would have a line to keep them level, so they'd build the stone all the way up to that level, and then put the line again higher and build it, and so on. And to realize, there's intention in it. And we talked about how you choose the stone, and all this thought was actually triggered by Paul saying, what am I going to build? And thinking about how we choose the stones. There need to be bigger ones, particularly in the foundation. There needs to be smaller ones in the spaces in between. So it has a sort of natural, organic look, and yet it's formed with intention. And to me, it was just a metaphor that spoke to me of our work.
Lovely. Thank you. Yeah, amazing stuff that comes out. It'd be interesting to run this with non-coaches to see what the difference is, but it's always amazing when we run it with coaches. Okay, lovely. So group 3 was Jeanette, Joan, and Bish.
Joanna, do you want to go ahead, because you had a really great insight at the start?
Thanks, Breach, and Jeanette. I suppose we spoke about the supports, and I suppose the three of us had very similar stuff going on in a way. We kind of had the same picture of stuff going on, challenges maybe, and different stuff at the current time as well. So we were kind of relating to that. But I suppose we were talking about the supports. I suppose we're our own greatest support, but we're also our own greatest obstacle in lots of ways. So I suppose it's when we're going through stuff, we're fine until something rocks us or some challenge happens. And I suppose it's our ability, when we were looking at all the wheel and the different supports around us, we probably are the ones that block a lot of support, because we're not open to asking, or we're not open, or we've some hang up or something from the past or something. No, I'll be fine, I'll be able to do that. And sometimes it's about, I suppose, maybe accepting where we are now and accepting supports and allowing them, so that was really, we spoke a lot around that. Yeah, without going into too much detail, because it was quite intense. So yeah, but yeah, I suppose we are our greatest support, but there is supports around us, and we probably know them. But I suppose what came through was sometimes our ability, or maybe to pause and just reflect and think, why are we not asking for help, or accepting this? Somebody might offer something to you, but say, no, I'm fine, grant, or not taking it. Why do we do that? Why are we like, because we're doing that? It's not, we're blocking that support as well. So there's a lot of talk around that and why we do that, and
about being open to accept help and also asking for it when we need it without apologizing.
Absolutely, yeah. And I love Val Stone there. It's
Yeah, brilliant.
amazing. The stonemasons and the work they do here in Ireland, anyways. I mean, they're impossible to get because they're so specialized in building stone walls with nothing between them. There's no earth, there's nothing. The traditional ones, like you can see through some of the stone walls, there's holes because there's no earth or anything in between, and they stand for hundreds and hundreds of years. They never fall down because they're built so well. The way they're built and the thought that's put into them, particularly in the west of Ireland, they just stand. They never fall down.
Yeah.
And it looks like there's nothing holding them together, but yeah.
And then sometimes you flip that. I know it's great to have the positive look, but sometimes we build walls that can't, or not, and they're there, and we need to get around them, not to try and knock them down. They've been built, they've been crafted for so long. They've had that skill and everything attached to them, and they've served a purpose. But sometimes we need to get to the other side. So we need to get ways to get around the wall rather than trying to go through something as solid as that.
Bridge gave a lovely analogy, actually. I forgot that of bridge, about, she uses I'll let you tell.
It's basically sometimes if you have something maybe difficult to deal with, a lot of the time, if you can just, it's like being on one side, there's a river and there's a bridge, and on the other side is maybe where the difficulty is, but it can also be where the sunshine is. And oft times you need to leave the baggage that you have with you, cross over to the bridge, and as you cross to the other side, be open to say, I'm just going to accept everything that's there ahead of me, and I'm going to do whatever I can. I've left my baggage behind. This is my full concentration on this side. Smell the roses on the other side. Also see that there's a few weeds or whatever over there. Give it your full attention. And then, but you do know you can always cross back over the bridge, and all your other stuff and or let's say all your baggage and all the great stuff that you have is there. But when you've got something maybe challenging to deal on the other side of the bridge, give it your full attention, your full focus. And then and the other benefit is that you can leave it, cross back over the bridge. So sometimes I looked at that in terms of maybe difficult family members. You want them in your life, and you want that warmth and everything, but it's so important. Just park your own stuff. Don't bring it with you, and spend that time with that person, and then you can always come back across the other side of the bridge. That's that little piece.
Okay, lovely. Thank you very much. Okay, so last but not least, we've got Ali, Daniela, and Siobhan.
To start, and then maybe Siobhan and Daniela can come in. But I think there were two things in common with us, and one's definitely quite a pragmatic thing, really. So the first was our family. We all took great support from our families, our really close family, but also recognizing that that was a drain as well for certainly two of us, and those sort of caring responsibilities as well. So a double-edged sword with family. They can sort of give you energy and also zap the energy at the same time. But we got into quite an open, too short, but open conversation about our businesses as well, and about the fact that our businesses give us energy and support, but also that it's really tough right now, actually. And that's the space that the three of us were in. We're all one-woman bands, I think. And so we talked about the fact that we needed more support, that we can isolate ourselves, that, we cannot always see the right move forward in terms of our businesses when we're on our own. So with that, Rob, we wanted to suggest actually that anyone who wanted to set up maybe over the summer as well, because we're on a bit of a break, a kind of support little group for anyone that runs their own business who would like to just be there for each other and have a chat about, not get stuck in the weeds of oh, it's really tough right now. Although I do think those conversations are valid too, because we all understand the situation that we're in. But also, you can learn, as someone said, you can learn so much from other people. I think it was Paul. You know, you can't learn in isolation. So we just wanted it wouldn't be a My New Good Life group, Rob. It would be a kind of coaches support group or something. But I'd like to put that suggestion forward, and I know that Siobhan and Daniela want to join as well. So,
Very lovely. Thank you.
yeah. Oh, I can see a few hearts and thumbs up, so that's good.
Okay, it sounds like a great idea. So I will not get involved in that if that's but I hope it works out. If there's anything I can do to support it, please let me know. I'll be very
Could
interested.
everyone? I don't mind just setting it up. So if you want to, if you could just put a thumbs up in the chat, and then I can write down who. And I'm not sure I've got the contact details for everyone, but I can try and get them somehow. So
yeah, and we should do from my emails.
oh yeah, true. Thanks.
Okay, so I would really appreciate a little bit of feedback on weeks 1 to 5. So what I'm going to do is I've got 4 very simple questions. And if you could briefly fill this in. So I'm just going to launch them. Okay, so don't close it or anything because you have to get to the bottom. Otherwise, once you close one, then the whole thing disappears. But based on my experience the first 5 weeks, I'd recommend it to other coaches. Based on my experience the first 5 weeks, I'd recommend it to my clients. I can see, okay, the next one is I can see myself using elements of the My New Good Life program, my coaching practice. And we're also interested to find out whether you'd be interested, you could see yourself facilitating groups of your clients through the program in a kind of a hybrid training coaching mode. So one way we can see this being used is if we, for example, give people access to Citra. So what we're doing is we're experimenting at the moment with one lady who's been through the My New Good Life program and the My New Good Life Plus program, and she's now using the Citra program to facilitate her own groups through it. So related to your business issue, we kind of recognize that not many coaches make much of a living just out of coaching. So one of the things we want to do is to explore whether this could be another source of revenue for coaches doing sort of a hybrid training coaching or just a training program. So if you have any feedback on those questions, we'd appreciate it. I'm ending the poll, sharing the results. So if you can see this, most people seem to believe that they could feel comfortable to recommend it to other coaches. I guess you're seeing this. If you're not, please let me know. And then based on my experience the first 5 weeks, I'd recommend it to clients. Most people are strongly agreeing or agreeing, but there's obviously one person who doesn't feel that their clients would be appropriate for this. And then I can see myself using elements for coaching. Most people strongly agree or agree. And even some people would be interested in facilitating groups through the program. So that's really interesting. Thank you. All right, so I'm just quickly going to move us on to part 2. There's not much to say. In part 2, what we're going to do is we're going to, as you probably remember, is we're going to look at the museum and the cellar in week 6, which is Transcend Limits. So what is it that we can serve us in the past, but perhaps no longer serve us quite so well? So I was thinking about my kind of hyper-rational things maybe helped me in the past, but it's not necessarily helping me all the time now. So maybe that's something I could put in, admire in my museum, but not necessarily need so much. And I've got 1 or 2 things that I won't talk about that are in my cellar. Then we go back out again and we look at the outside world facing the threats. We look at the mission in week 9, integrate mission. So based on my essence and gifts and what's going on in the world, what is mine to do? We look at planning towards my new good life, which is the 3 horizons, and we finish with maintaining balance. And that's what we've got coming in after the break. Now, if it works for you, what we're going to suggest is we actually start on the opening up week 6 on Saturday, the 5th of September, with the first check-in on Friday, the 11th. And we're getting a sense from the feedback we had this week that really the 9 o'clock Irish UK time suits you better, and we don't want to mess about if we've got a good time for you. So our proposal, and this get, if you got people saying no, it's just not going to work, that's fine, we can move it. But we're going to propose we start again with the Saturday, the 5th of September, and first check in on the Friday 11th, and we stick with the same time and the same Zoom link. Fantastic. All right. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure working with you for the first 5 weeks. Real joy. Thank you very much to everybody for the contributions and your such active engagement. It's been amazing. So thank you very much, everybody. Have a wonderful summer break. We look forward to seeing you again in September.